What is up, you guys? So I got a pretty good video for you today. Today's topic is going to be budgeting, right? And specifically, I want to talk about a budgeting strategy that I don't know if I've ever heard of before. To be completely honest with you, I was just thinking about budgeting, and the traditional sort of approach to budgeting, if you will, was always 50% on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on savings, right? And while this budget works for a lot of people, I feel like things have kind of changed over the past few years, or especially over the past decade. Things have gotten a lot more expensive, especially housing. So I was thinking of different ways to structure this, right? Because in in this sense, the 50% on needs, and then specifically within that 50%, they say not to spend more than 25% to 30% of your income on housing. I don't know if that's always realistic, right? Because I know even for me personally, rent is a good chunk of my income, and unless you have a roommate, spending 25% of your income for housing could be difficult. Again, just because it's become more expensive over the recent years. So I was wondering I was thinking about and brainstorming different ways to actually budget your money to make it a little more realistic for people to meet or stay under a certain threshold when it comes to housing, and just ways to structure their budget as a whole. And rather than the 50, 30, 20 structure, I thought of another thing. And it's the 33, 33, 33 structure, right? So let's break this down. Rather than spending 25% of your income on housing, I think that number is a little low now. So if we can bump that number up to 33%, if you're able to spend a third of your income on housing, I think that gives people a little bit more wiggle room to actually be able to afford places, especially if they're trying to live on their own, right? Because trying to spend only a quarter of your income on housing can be difficult, especially if you're making like on the lower end of income, or even let's just say under 100 grand a year. It can be kind of difficult to stay under that 25% threshold. So I think adding an additional 8% to that housing category, it really provides some flexibility and opens people up to more housing opportunities. And it'll be more comfortable for them to live in a place that they can, live in with a 33% of their income rather than just 25%, whether that includes additional amenities or safety and location or whatever the case may be. So that's number one. So just off the bat, we're allowed to spend a little bit more money on our housing. So the other third, or one of the other thirds, is meant to go towards savings and investing, right? I know the general rule is to save 15 to 20% of your income and put it towards retirement or whatever the case may be. In my opinion, I don't think that's enough nowadays. I think you need to save and invest more. So increasing that 15 to 20% to up to 33% or a third of your income, I really think that significantly increases your odds of comfortably retiring and possibly retiring even earlier than you would have if you were only saving 15%. I can almost guarantee that actually, if you're saving double the amount, chances are you're going to have a much more comfortable retirement and you'll probably be able to retire earlier. So first third is going towards housing. Second third is going towards savings. And now this is where you kind of have to do some finagling. The final third of your income is meant to go towards your additional needs and then your wants. So obviously we need to prioritize our needs. So insurance, outside of your like homeowners insurance or renters insurance, but like car insurance and health insurance and all that kind of stuff. Food, utilities, or you can include utilities in the housing if you'd like. There is some wiggle room in this budget to kind of make it work for you. But the needs that I'm referring to is the stuff that you absolutely need, like your phone, food, gas, things of that nature. And then whatever's left in that one third of your income that was not used towards your absolute necessities, that is going to be your discretionary income. So if you don't have enough money to even take care of your needs, you either need to cut back on your needs or you need to make more money. But if you have little to no money for discretionary spending after you've allocated that final third of your money towards your needs, Again, you either can't spend money on discretionary things or you need to increase your income. And I think this budget, while it's different and it's not the traditional budget, I think it's worth giving it a try because it allows you to spend a little bit more money on your housing, which I think is almost required at this point. Housing has just become so expensive. I think it's really difficult to keep your housing expense under 25%, but it also prioritizes savings and saving a lot, right? If you can save a third of your income, you're going to be in a lot better shape than you would be if you only save 10 to 20% of your income. So those are the first two priorities. And then after that, you'll have another third to take care of your required minimum monthly payments and required monthly necessities like food, and I would include paying off debt and minimum monthly payments on all that kind of stuff in this category as well. And then finally, whatever's left over is sort of your discretionary spending. And the thing I like about this sort of budget versus the 50-30-20 is just the way you format it, right? With a 50-30-20, it's 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% for savings. So savings is coming last. Whereas with this 33-33-33 budget, savings is second right after your housing, right? I think housing and, putting a roof over your head should be your number one priority. But then allowing yourself to save right after that versus spending discretionary money and then saving, I think it's just a mental almost trick, if you will, to prioritize savings. Because at the end of the day, I think savings should come first before going out to eat, discretionary spending, shopping on Amazon, traveling, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. This is something that I just thought of over the weekend here that I thought was interesting. I have not given it a try myself per se, or at least implemented it strictly. I've always been one to save first and then take care of my expenses later. So I guess in principle, I've tried it, but I haven't actually tried this specific formula of the 33-33-33. So it might be something worth giving it a try. If you guys feel like you're struggling with budgeting and the 50-30-20 structured budget isn't working for you, or maybe you have a different budget that isn't working for you, maybe give this one a try. I don't know. Maybe it'll help you out. Maybe it'll work for you. I may end up giving it a try in the new year here. Originally, one of my goals this new year was to save 50% of my income. Now, if I do this budgeting structure, I would really only be saving 33%. Although if I have extra money for discretionary spending, then that doesn't stop me from saving that as well. So I don't know. I have some thinking to do on that. But again, this is really just if you feel like you've been struggling with budgeting and you want to try something different, give this a try. Who knows? It might work. 33% towards your housing, 33% towards savings, and then 33% towards needs first. And then whatever's left over in that 33%, use towards your wants. Go out to eat, buy yourself something you've been wanting to buy, go travel, do whatever you want to do, get away for the weekend. So yeah, if you do give this budget a try, definitely let me know in the comments like how it works for you, or even if before you give it a try, if you have any thoughts on it, if you think it might work or you think it might not work, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it. I haven't heard anyone use this budget before. Chances are someone has probably thought of it, but I just haven't seen it yet. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. If you're new here, I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I post all kinds of content about personal finance, life experiences, anything I feel like you guys can relate to and learn from. I just talk about it on here and throw it over some gameplay. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.